And you heard John Paul Gard play Angela, the theme from the TV series Taxi, and a trip down memory lane when Tony Pegler was with the Thomas Organ Company and the Londonderry Air on the Coronado 297 model. I'll be back with John Paul after the break, and to take us there, and all will become clear shortly, Keith Evans at his Allen GW4 theatre organ with Ray Noble's Cherokee.
This hour is sponsored by the Organ and Keyboard Cavalcade magazine, packed with music, features and information for all enthusiasts to enjoy, and the home of Keyboard Cavalcade Hobby Holidays. For more information, visit www.cavalcadeproductions.co.uk or phone 07842 573 913 on Monday and Thursday mornings.
On air at 99.7 FM and online at oldhamcommunityradio.com, this is Community Keyboards with Ian Woolstenholme.
And welcome back to Community Keyboards, where it's back to chat with John Paul Gard on organ here in the company of Ben Waghorn on sax, Matt Hopkins on guitar and Tony Perrett on drums with the theme from Police Squad. So apart from Tony, who, as we say, has kind of moved away from the organ scene of late, Jean-Paul, I remember the other Technics guys down there. Keith Evans was another great hero of yours, I think I'm right in saying.
Yeah, Keith Evans is such a gent of a guy and such a great player in many styles. And he used to come in, he was one of the main, I think, in charge of demonstrating for Technics. Or I don't know what position he had in the company, but he was quite high up in the company. Mm. But he used to come down and into the shop and just spend, come to the shop and just start playing. And I used to just go up and stand by him on the G7 organ, and he would just play this big band stuff with these gorgeous chords, gorgeous arrangements. And recently I hooked up with him because he lives not far from me, and I just hadn't spoken to him for a long time, and he invited me over. Yes. And he made me incredibly welcome. And he played for me, and he's got he's really into Hammond as well. He had a Hammond, and a lovely theatre organ, and I was absolutely blown away by him. And I was thankful enough that he spent time to show me things, and he's got a lot of time for people coming through, and we need people to share stuff, and he was one of those guys that helped me out too. So that was a good thing. Great
musicians always are willing and happy to give of their time. That's been my experience. Anybody else, Jean-Paul, that's figured in your musical path so far?
Yeah, definitely. Ian, there's one other guy I'd just like to thank, and that was Peter Hayward. Peter probably won't even remember me, but what a lovely, lovely guy in terms of just sharing stuff. He used to do demonstrations for Honos, people know. Yes. And the organ shop used to hold these sort of demonstration places in nice hotels, and Peter came down a few times. And I was about 11 or 12 years old, and he would just sit there and play, and I'd go and stand by him and just watch him play. And he had great flair for playing. He had a great energy in his playing, which was really happy and really positive. Just one quick thing that he did for me, I remember that I was trying to get myself going with playing the organ and, learning different techniques. And I remember that it was at a time when Fame, the TV program was on. Peter used to play this arrangement of Fame. And I loved it. I loved that song at the time. And he actually had the music on him, and he gave me the music and signed the music for me. Probably won't ever remember that. But at the time when you're 11 years old and you see someone doing something you want to do and you're inspired by them, for him to actually make the effort to give me the music, I was absolutely, I never forgot that. And as you're coming through, you want to give that back to people. It's, like you want to, if someone came up to me and wanted something, I'd gladly do it because of the experience I've had with other people,
All these names that you're mentioning, Jean-Paul, are regular listeners to the programme, so I know they'll hear your comments, and I'm sure they'll be thrilled to bits that you've been so influenced, and these memories last forever, as you say. Let me talk a moment about your album that we've been hearing throughout the programme. I guess there would probably been a point where you never ever thought that you would actually have an opportunity to make album, never mind all the ones that you have done. The 2020 album, you actually managed, didn't you? We were talking about Tony Pegler a minute ago, to get Tony to contribute to the sleeve notes for that. That must have really made your day.
Yeah, it did. I was doing a gig with, I've got like an organ trio that does sort of jazzy stuff. I was doing a gig in Worthing, and I hadn't seen Tony for 30 years or something. And as I say, my memories of him is being one of my heroes, so I wouldn't have expected to see him anyway. But he just turned up at a gig I was playing at.
Wow.
I think he lives. He just turned up. We were doing a sound check, and he came in and he said, and I looked at him in the middle of the sound check, and I almost fell off the seat. I couldn't. We had to stop rehearsing, and I just couldn't play. I was like, oh my God, what are you doing? Tony, what are you doing here? So he said, well, I come to see you. I was like, well, why? So anyway, but he came to the gig in Worthing, and I hooked up with him, and I kept on and off contact with him from then. And because he's such a big influence because of his style of playing, I wanted him to review that album, because for me, that album that I've done was a tribute for him, in a sense, because of how much he did influence me with that G7 album, So I wanted to create an album was accurate, but the thing that I didn't want on any of my stuff is any kind of sequencing, because for me, the organ has to be played, and that's how I view it. It's only my own point of view.
Yes.
So everything on that 2020 album is done. It's not overdubbed. It's everything you hear on it is just 2 hands and 2 feet, and that's a bit like the theatre thing, the theatre organ players, but in a different style, you know.
Sure.
So that was the kind of, he gladly reviewed it for me. I thought he'd give it a bad review, but it was quite generous.
Oh, yeah. I know, John Paul, that our listeners enjoy learning about the keyboards that the artists who come on the programme use. And you, as we've said already, you know, you've been fortunate enough to experience so many different brands and models over the years, but you've restored a Versi Galaxy, haven't you? I mean, that's dedication, isn't it?
Well, actually, I haven't quite finished it, but I've done a lot of it, and there's still quite a bit of work to do. But I've had a good go at it, yeah. I've had a few Versis. I think I've had about 4 Versis now.
Right.
I had a Saturn not long ago.
Wow, yeah, with the big chrome legs. I remember that one. Gosh, I think, yeah.
Yeah, that was a massive thing.
Wow.
And then I've had two Heliuses as well.
Oh, wow.
But always wanted that Galaxy, yeah. And, for what it is, if you're into that kind of thing, what I really love about the Versis is the amount of drawbars they've got. They've got a couple of extra drawbars at the end.
Yeah.
If you do any kind of sort of like Errol Garner kind of stuff, adding those top drawbars at the end gives it just a nicer crunch to me.
Yes.
I like that kind of sound. So that was and it's all analog as well. So I love that sort of older sound.
I think it was probably around 1980 or 1981. Certainly, I was a very green boy broadcaster with an interest in organs, a bit like you at the organ, the competition when you were 10 or 11. It was Franz Lambert that came over to a local civic hall not far from where I live, and he was playing the Versi Galaxy, and he gave little old me permission to record it on a big reel-to-reel recorder in the side of the stage, and I've still got that recording now to this day. And it's again things like that where, you know, he could have, being of sort of the superstar status that he was, he could have quite easily said, no, you're not doing that, young man. Well, you know, copyright and all this kind of thing. But, you know, just so willing to share music. And, you know, 40 years later, I can still do that. So it's brilliant, isn't it?
I think very quickly, one thing about that is the period of time the 80s it was very sharing at that point of time as well, because of I think it was just, everything was a little bit more relaxed back then. I think people were just more happy to share things.
Yeah, you're probably right.
This Versi Galaxy here, I think, because of what you've said, I managed to buy this from Versi UK. It was from one of the guys that worked there, and I've got a feeling that this is the organ that Franz Lambert played.
Really?
I think this organ's got a lot of history to it, so I'm very lucky to have even got it, really, because there's not many of them around. So I've got a feeling that Franz Lambert might have played that one.
It may well have been the very same one. Who knows? Yeah, gosh.
Yeah.
I've got to ask, John Paul, out of all the instruments that you have played, do you have a favourite, or is that a kind of an unfair question?
I do, yeah. I do. I think different organs make you play different ways, and I think that if you're playing a sort of, different organs have different things. But if I were to choose, I think I'd probably give it a Technics G7, believe it or not.
Really?
I think that's nice. Yeah.
Wow.
I think I just think that sound-wise, all right, is a bit dated, but there's just something about that organ that I don't know, I think because I grew up with it and I spent a lot of time on it, I feel very comfortable on that organ.
Yeah.
So that would probably be it's not the best of organs by any means, but I do like that organ, yeah.
Yeah. Some of the more modern keyboards, as you might say, seem to assume that the user's quite sort of technically able and proficient, but I know that's not always the case. I'm just wondering if that's the reason why, if listeners have seen some of your work online, on YouTube, for example, is that the reason why you started to pass on your hints and tips and knowledge to viewers in that case?
Because on the journey, the musical journey, the journey I think has to be shared with everybody in order for people to be able to put their stories on. So I've been shown a lot of stuff over the years, and I've learned a lot of stuff. And what I don't want to do is one day, think, oh, you know what, someone else could have benefited from knowing a few things that I could show them.
Yeah.
And I think sharing knowledge creates knowledge for other people, and they share their knowledge with other people as well. So hopefully I can learn something from other people if they put it up. And